I, Mike Johnson, call this Board of Education, Teaching and Learning meeting Tuesday, June 12th to order. It's 6:30. Roll call is myself, Mark Johnson. President is Larry Canning and Evelyn Gleason, along with Dr. Williams. And two beautifuls.
Young granddaughters.
Granddaughters,
All right. First item I wanted to go over tonight is, and the handout coming around because I know the visual is going to be hard to see. I thought it prudent that we revisit kind of our textbook adoption process, but more importantly, the funding. Because our textbook budget is actually going to be higher going into this school year. Okay, so just a little bit of history. Back in fiscal year 01, so this is the 2000-2001 school year, all the way through school year 2008, the state actually had an Illinois textbook loan program where, and it wasn't necessarily every year, but that's why you can see it jumps from 01, 04, 07, 08.
Okay.
But the state would basically tell school districts, hey, we have X amount of dollars available if you wanted to apply for basically free books. For whatever was in their program. Now, not all of our textbooks were available, but for those that were available, we could, in essence, buy them for free. So that's where we were getting about $200,000 from the state to put towards books. I remember when I was the science supervisor, I think it was pretty much, I think it was 04, actually, no, sorry, 07, 10th grade, I remember. Our chemistry books were up for adoption, so we just got brand new textbooks for all of our chemistry kids.
Wow.
And again, that was paid for by the
State. Good.
Also, though, in 07, 08, we had to supplement that with some district funding.
Okay.
And so, in essence, we were spending about $300,000 on textbooks. Then, moving forward, you're going to start seeing kind of that number decrease right around fiscal year 10 to 11. You're going to see those numbers dramatically drop off. This was right around where we were really trying to be fiscally responsible and trying to put kind of a freeze on our spending, trying to get our deficit down, taking that time to really reevaluate textbooks and whether they're being used in classrooms or they, doorstops and things of that nature. So we really only spent money on those books that we absolutely needed. Those where course enrollments went up and we didn't have enough books, we had to buy books. Or for programs where we rebound the book so many times. I don't know if you know, every time you rebind a book, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller to the point where you can't rebind it anymore because then the text gets cut off.
Oh, okay.
So then we'd have to purchase some new books. Right around, I would say, fiscal year 14, 15 is when we really started looking at ebooks. Since we were moving to the iPad for all students, we were exploring the option of ebooks. And so that's where you're going to see the funding kind of jump back up again into the hundreds of thousands. We started off with social studies going strictly ebooks and world language going ebooks. So if you look at fiscal year 19, which is what we're going into, the 2018-2019 school year, our budget is $565,000. I know, it's like...
Well, we got a choke on that one for me.
Gosh.
Wow. So did I.
Certainly coming from fiscal year 11.
Yes.
Well, absolutely. I mean, if you're going back there, you can't compare those.
No,
You can't compare those.
Yeah.
We really did our absolute best to try to make do with what we have. But because we haven't looked at resources in a long time, just like anything, if you're not doing preventative maintenance, it's going to catch up with you. And now it's caught up with us. Because going into the 2018-19 school year, our freshman curriculum is now up for revision. So all of our freshman courses are getting new books. We have just that new English series that you adopted. Integrated physics hasn't had a textbook in 10 years. They tried to do without it.
So we're talking, Corey, hard textbooks, not e-textbooks.
We are actually talking both.
Both? Okay.
Yes. So.
Well, that makes me feel better, though.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it's a lot to kind of swallow, especially coming off of $200,000 last year.
Now, when you buy the ebooks and they update them, do you have to? Is it the same price all over?
We automatically get the updates.
You automatically
So the
Okay.
e-license is actually for 6 years.
Okay.
So once we make that purchase, so whatever changes are made during that time, we automatically get those updates.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So for,
Easier to swallow.
it does, it does. So for every license, every student will get an e-license that they can download the book onto their iPad. Textbook companies are also giving us classroom sets.
Okay.
So we'll have the hard copy in case, a student forgot to charge their iPad, whatever the
System goes down.
system goes down, we
Okay.
have class sets available.
Wow. So you're getting both.
We're getting both. Now, it's not a hard copy for every student.
Okay.
It's 30, if we have 30 kids in a classroom,
Yeah.
that classroom will get 30 books.
Share.
Right.
Exactly, sure. And then another class comes in and the
Right.
same kids can access that book.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay. Depending upon the subject, so in English, for example, not only do the students have the e-license, but we're going to have a hard copy of the text. The students are actually getting an e-workbook, so they're actually getting a physical copy of that text.
Okay.
We're going to do that for the first year. Again, this is new for the freshmen, getting used to this e-platform. Over time, we envision getting rid of the hard copy and just going strictly with the e-version.
Okay.
Okay. We're also doing that with world language right now. There's still, it's the teacher adjustment, that comfort level of not having that hard textbook. Really more of a teacher concern rather than the student. Some students really don't like reading on the iPad. They'd rather have the hard copy.
I would be one of them. I don't normally use the computer when we're in
I still
session.
get my books out of the library.
Yeah.
I like to
I-
hold them.
Yeah, I mean, we're all the same.
But then there's
Students
some
are,
people that swear by the
Yeah.
computer and the
Well, we're
e-books.
old school. We don't know.
yeah, absolutely. We weren't. I mean,
Right.
I was just talking to a
Old
group
school.
today. We were in the middle of interviews. And like, back in high school, we didn't even have computers.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't that long ago.
Just, let's see, back in, not getting off the subject,
No,
but
no,
yeah,
no.
we just started implementing it in Hillcrest in like 84, 80, right in there, 83.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Mrs. Grandone, you remember the
Yeah.
Grandone?
Oh gosh,
Sharon Grandone was
I remember
my
her.
nephew.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, she was my computer teacher. So,
Yeah.
She's a great teacher.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So we have kind of all this going on. So again, keeping in mind this year for freshmen, they're getting new science books, they're getting new English books,
Okay.
they're getting new math books. We also implemented the new AP World History, so we have all these subjects going on, and that's why the budget is jumping up. Okay. I'm also projecting out. So next school year, all the sophomores are going to have new math books, new
Okay.
science books, new English books. Same thing for the juniors. So for 3 years, we're going to see that
Higher
relatively
budget,
large
yeah.
budget
But we got light at the end of the tunnel, I see in
be-
22 and 23.
because it's 6 years. So we're going to be paying licenses for the first 3 for
Yes.
3 years, and then we'll have 3 years off, and then
Okay.
3 years on again.
Okay.
That make sense?
Yes, it does.
In the meantime, though, we're going to evaluate whether the ebook is really doing what we want it to, really getting the bang for the buck.
Okay.
Okay. In some disciplines, like for example, health and driver's ed, not much changes in that content. It probably won't make sense to go the route of an e-license because you're just going to buy it every 6 years. Rather
Okay.
than having a book, we've had it probably now 15 years.
And it hasn't been updated.
No,
Right.
not really, other than they change the cover and, maybe the page numbers.
Right.
But at some point, we are going to need new books because we've rebound those so many times. So that might get kicked into next year. So we're going to use this time to really evaluate whether the ebooks are worth the investment, or maybe going back to, depending on the subject, classroom sets and going that route. So.
Could we do printouts and then ring bind them in a regular binder or something?
Probably a license rule like
It
that.
is copyright.
Oh.
Yeah.
Infringement. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's slippery slope.
Yeah.
Now, once we purchase the materials, we have the freedom and the flexibility to do what we want with them. So
Okay.
we can push them out in terms of PDFs once we own them. But we can't just buy one book and photocopy
Yeah.
1,200
Right.
copies of it. It's not legal. Okay. Questions on that? So I just wanted to kind of forewarn you when Brittany rolls that out with the budget. That's why we're going to go through this little influx and
Okay.
Okay.
Good thing.
then kind of level off.
So this is coming up next week, but yeah. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. All right. Let's jump over.
Next month, the budget comes out now next week.
Oh,
July, you're right. It's
yeah.
going to the July.
Okay.
I was to say, we didn't review the budget last night. I was just here.
Okay, thank you, Ellen.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at one. Take those.
Sir?
So each year about this time we need to take a look at our district Title I plan and also annually review our school-wide plans for Bremen and Hillcrest. So I'm going to start off with the district Title I plan. And that was that huge document that I told you to scan and just focus on the parts that were the 2018-19. Because what the state is allowing us to do this year is if we're going to continue the same plan, we basically can copy and paste it into the new school year. Okay, which is ultimately what we decided to do. We started so many new initiatives, we felt we're not done. Let's not add any more, let's stay with what we're currently doing. So I wanted to revisit those things. So we had 3 overarching goals. 1, reduce the achievement gap. 2, increase the health and social emotional well-being of our students. And 3, increase parental involvement. Parental involvement we are required to do under Title I. Okay, it's an area that not just high schools, but all schools struggle with, is trying to get parents involved. And that's certainly not unique to our district, and we're going to continue to try to find ways to get our parents engaged in our students' education.
Man, I think if we can make progress in that area, we'll see it in the academic.
Yeah, I'm going to show you some success stories.
Yeah.
It does frustrate the buildings, you know, when they set up a family night in
3
5
people, yeah.
families. But that's 5 families we impacted.
Yeah, that's
you know,
true.
we have to look at it that way. So first off, with the academic focus, reducing the achievement gap. SAT scores are just starting to come out. I'm not ready to share all of them with you because all the students with accommodations, their data is not back yet, so the data would be skewed, what I would present to you. So do know that with the changes in the English and math curriculum, they are going to be much more skills infused. They're going to be much more aligned to SAT. The reading that students are going to be experiencing in math is much different, but is very aligned to SAT. So we're going to see improvement in results. It's going to take a couple years, but we believe that that's going to have a huge impact. But let's talk about some success stories. And again, I'm just highlighting data is just starting to come in from the buildings. So of the students at Bremen that participated in SAT prep, 222 students actually showed growth. 69 students had 100 points or more from their practice test to the actual SAT, and 87 students had anywhere from 50 to 90 points growth.
Okay.
Wow.
Which
Growth,
is great.
you said?
Growth.
Okay, great.
That's a good thing, yeah.
Absolutely. At Tinley Park, the students that participated in their SAT prep averaged 79 points of growth compared to 67 points of kids that didn't participate.
Okay.
Okay. And then I mentioned the ELA and math curriculum are going to be revised to be more reflective of SAT prep and SAT skills. In terms of supporting math teachers with professional development, I just want to give you an update on where we are. In June, Kelly Ladiak, our new math supervisor, got the Math 1 teachers together to take a look at the work that they had done and really went back through and revisited their timeline. Is this realistic? Which skills and which assessments and which activities do we really want to do? So they really shored up both the Math 1, the Extended, and the Math 1 Honors program. Provided links for the teachers, so it literally is, and not that we want teachers, we're not expecting them to be robots, but we know this is new for all of them, so we wanted to help them get through the material. So literally it's day 1, you have these options of doing these things, and on day 2 you can do these things, and there's links to all the different activities and enrichments and assessments that the teachers can need, and they put in a lot of work. Because again, they don't want teachers to feel like there's no supports for them.
Right.
But they also want to make sure that everyone's doing the same thing right around the same time. Okay, because we don't want classes to fall behind. In July, she's putting together training for all the Math 1 teachers to literally go through and practice. Here's how you teach the content. Here's how you would actually do this activity.
Wow.
Here's how you would engage the students. Let's talk about the assessment. Okay, they're going to be doing that in July because, again, they want all the teachers to start off on a really good foot with this Math 1. Our focus for BASA for the upcoming school year is once we get the math curriculum going, is we want our math teachers talking to the 7th and 8th grade math teachers to help them make sure that their kids are prepared for Math 1.
That's huge, yeah.
Sharing the assessments, sharing the skill expectations, sharing the placement test, a parallel, not the exact one, but a parallel placement test so that the feeder schools feel confident that they're preparing their kids.
Are the feeder schools still doing like algebra in 8th grade or?
Some are.
Yeah.
Some are. So Central Middle School, 146, because they feed us and 230. 230 is actually integrated. They're going to be in a really nice spot that both districts are going integrated.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be much easier for them to convert their curriculum. I've already met with District 143. So that's Midlothian, Keller, or Colmar, and Central Park. District 218 is going to integrate it the year after us. So that's really going to be
We don't
helpful.
take in much of, oh, well, okay.
We do, yeah. Bremen takes in a lot of their kids. So they're going to be more aligned to us. It's just Hilly and Prairie Hills and Arbor Park, are going to have to, make some adjustments.
Are they
At least
working
in
with
8th
us?
grade. Not yet. Not to say that they won't, and that's why they're kind of waiting on us to make sure that we're comfortable first, and then that's why we wanted to make it a big focus for next year. Everything we do is just going to be math, like we did with science those couple of years. Okay. Providing academic supports to students, so credit recovery and tutors. I just want to give you some data with the credit recovery. So Hillcrest did a huge push with credit recovery this year. In the first semester, 24 students completed 41 courses in Delta Night. 60 students completed 155 courses during Delta Day. In the second semester, 12 students completed 73 courses at night, and 90 students completed 187 courses during the day. So a really good push there.
Mm-hmm.
This is a nice data because now as we're going to implement that ninth period credit recovery at all the buildings, we know that students can be successful and recover their credits. Yeah. Exactly. Implementing the new alt-ed program at SSC, so let me give you an update of where we are. Next week, it was at personnel last night. I have a recommended candidate for the director of alt-ed, so that person is in place. We just did our interviews for our mental health professional on Monday, and we are contacting the candidates. Our English teacher, we actually had a RIF situation this year, and the teacher that ended up getting RIFed actually has an alt-ed background and is an English teacher, so she is coming over to alt-ed. Super excited. She is fantastic. We just did special education teacher interviews today, and we're going to start math teachers next week. So our staff is just about in place, and then once we get that going, then we can start doing the student intakes and figuring out which programs they're going to go through. As far as the Achieve programs, remember this is the self-contained special ed performance-based curriculum. Mike Boniface got together about 25 teachers from across the district in all content areas 2 weeks ago, I think it was, for 2 days. They went through all 16 foundation courses. They were able to get through 12 of them and completing performance assessments for those courses. So those will be ready to go for our kids.
Good.
Yep. Planning for the implementation of reading specialists. So this was one of our Title I objectives, is we wanted to do a program evaluation not only of our extended classes but also our alt-ed program. We ended up putting more emphasis on alt-ed because we really wanted to get that up and running. But we do know that we need reading specialists for those students that are not reading at grade level. We do have a small population across the district. What we're looking to do is reallocate the extended time, and I've already had conversations with Tom O'Shea in the English department. He's had conversations with his 9th grade English teachers.
I'm sorry, is that, you said we have a small group that across the district, is that small group without an IEP?
It's both IEPs and without IEPs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. No, it's a great question.
Because we still have kids coming in below grade level
Yes.
who are not in special ed.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. Yes. Yeah, it is. So 2 things. We know the new English curriculum is going to be much more skills focused. It's going to be completely different than, let's just read To Kill a Mockingbird for the sake of reading To Kill a Mockingbird. These are the skills we want to assess, and the skills keep coming up unit after unit after unit. So it'll, just like Tom had talked about with the new series, the kids are going to find some success. It's going to take a little bit. They're not going to be used to more rigorous assessments, more skills-aligned assessments, but it'll be a greater benefit in the back end. So we've already had conversations with teachers. They know that we need some extra reading support. We know that the extended time is not really helping to remediate those skills. And not across the board, but sometimes evolved into let's just do your homework for the 25 minutes. We can reallocate that time in a better way. In the next couple of years, we're going to have several retirements out of the English department. So it's kind of an apropos time to look at something different, phase out extended, and bring in reading specialists that can work specifically with the students, and they're trained to do this.
Pinpoint their difficulties, and
just focus
attack
on
them.
that,
Yeah.
exactly, and be able to push into the classrooms to support teachers on implementing reading. So we're about a year to 2 out, but we're planning for reading specialists. I've also had the conversation with Kelly Ladiak and the math teachers, doing the same thing in math, is going away from the extended math time and bringing in math interventionists that can work on those foundational skill developments and push into the classroom.
That's a good plan.
Yeah.
Do you find that I work with I've been helping out at a grade school, and I find a lot of the Spanish speaking kids, they can speak it, they can do a lot, they cannot read.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
Well, absolutely. We gotta think they're learning 2 languages,
Right.
And in some cases 3, depending upon the subject.
That's true.
They're trying to figure it out in Spanish. They're trying to learn it in English, and then think about it in a science classroom. There's a whole set of new vocabulary that they have to learn there too. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things they pick up, but when you hand them a book and they read out loud,
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the
when
other,
you really see it.
the other thing that's really interesting, when I was interviewing for the math supervisor, I had a teacher from Oak Forest who does the self-contained ELL math curriculum. Do you know the interesting, and it didn't dawn on me until she started talking, like, of course that makes sense. The Arabic students struggle with math because they read it backwards.
Oh.
They read right to left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh my
They
God.
do.
they do. So if you're giving them two digits to add, 2 sets of 2 digits, they'll read it backwards and write it backwards. They'll do it correctly, but the answer is still wrong.
My wife talks about that because she's in Payless and there's a big Arab population.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So just being aware and trying to help them reframe and reteach
Wow.
their brain
And
to.
you know what? You're speaking about the Spanish, Evelyn. Bremen has the highest
yeah.
population, Spanish population.
Yes.
So
Their freshman and sophomore classes are 60% Hispanic
Yeah.
already.
Wow. That
Yeah,
is-
so we have to understand what that means and what the impact that has on learning. Our second goal is social emotional focus. So we put a big emphasis on providing services for our homeless, supplies, and transportation.
okay.
So through our Title I grant, we spent about $230,000 on transportation of our homeless students. It's about 15% of our grant. We have about 3% of our students that are actually homeless in the district. We spent about $158,000 on supplies for low-income and homeless students. This includes providing the iPad that they need for class.
Right.
So for those students, for our homeless students, my assistant actually starts ordering backpacks, school supplies, so they get notebooks, pens, papers, calculators, the iPad, whatever they need. We provide for our homeless students. And we spent this year $21,000 on any low-income or homeless student that wanted to take an AP exam. And we actually paid for 408 tests for those students.
Really? It's that high, huh?
Just for those students. That's not talking the gen
No,
ed.
I know.
Mhm. So
That's
all,
good.
absolutely,
That's
all the kids
great.
had to pay was $15.
Oh. They should have the same opportunities. That's
Absolutely.
awesome. Yeah, that's good.
Absolutely. We're really proud
They're
of
gonna ever get out of it.
really proud of that. This is a new one that I implemented last year through Title I, and I'm really glad that we were able to do this for our kids. So we spent this year $16,000 on the meningococcal vaccine.
Okay. Yeah.
So that was 125 students. It's $128 per shot. So our goal is we want our juniors to come back senior year and have their shots and not be excluded on October 15th.
Gotcha.
We had a lot of students that were excluded on October 15th
'Cause
because
they
they
were-
didn't have their vaccinations.
Oh, wow.
So we're taking that out of the equation.
Okay, good.
They actually, those students went in late April, early May. Walgreens actually came into the school and delivered the shots.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so we were able to cover that. The other thing I'm really proud of is we're trying to push this more and more. We had about 10 students this year go to get vision tested, and actually we bought glasses for them.
That's going to help their education and their learning, you
Yes.
know?
Wow.
Yeah.
I know Hillcrest always brings in the dental van so the kids can get dental screenings and cleanings.
Remember when we were growing up and you know, we used to, okay, line up, and you go to the screening thing.
Yep.
For the eyes first,
Yep.
you walk down. Is that still going on?
Yes, they still do this vision screening, exactly.
Okay.
Yes, for all students. And then do you remember doing the,
Yes.
you know, washing,
Yes.
the mouth washing, getting
Yes.
teeth checked?
Yes.
Now that we don't necessarily
Okay.
do for our high school
The
students.
point is, if we can catch these kids with eye problems and correct them, geez, that's going to help immensely, because
Yeah.
now they can read, and now they can read it off the page or the chalkboard.
Whatever
You
happens
know,
to be,
yeah.
they're not embarrassed and,
Yes.
you know, hesitant to
Yeah.
not participate because they really just can't see.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
So when I was talking,
So that's good.
Yeah.
Is that something we can expand on with that vision? I mean, you said 10 students.
we keep pushing it. Again, you know, we try to communicate that services to the families. Then it's up to the families. You know, they have to get their child to whatever the community. So we use Absolute Vision and Crestwood. They've been a really great partner for us. So we just have to send the students. It's a matter of them getting there.
And so then that would probably be discussed in these parent groups. The focus of getting them involved in their kids' education is, you know, making sure that they can see what's in front of them.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Or that channels through the social worker, the psychologist, or the nurse working
Right.
directly with students.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, cool.
So I'm going to just kind of highlighted our focus on helping our homeless students. We spent $230,000 on transporting our homeless students, $158,000 on supplies. So literally all of our homeless students can get a backpack of school supplies, including calculators and the iPad. And we bought 408 tests for our low-income and homeless students. So all they had to pay was $15.
Oh, it is through Title I.
Through Title I.
If any of it's reimbursable.
Yep, all through Title I. And then I was just talking about all of our, any junior we paid for 125 MCV4, that's that meningococcal vaccine. They didn't have to pay a dime. Walgreens actually came out and gave the shots to the kids. And then we have, we're just talking about kids getting glasses and screenings.
Yeah.
Access to Rosecrans and other support services in the community. So through the new Title IV grant, which really focuses on social emotional learning, we spent $26,000 on Rosecrans. So we had about 36 students with substance abuse issues that actually received services from Rosecrans. They actually came into the school and did some interventions with the kids. And then we spent $370. We did a pilot at Hillcrest with this best screener. We gave it to all freshmen. It's just a screener to identify kids that may be potentially suicidal or have trauma, and that way we can wrap some services around those students.
That's good. Good.
Yep.
What does
Remember-
BEST stand for? Or what is it? Just in general?
It's actually BASC-3, Behavioral Assessment Screening something.
Oh, so it's okay.
Yeah, it's a behavioral screener.
Okay.
And we went through that rough patch, remember, a couple
Yes.
years ago? Ooh.
Yes. This is also something we talked about rolling into our alternative education program and doing a screener with those students, since now we will have a full-time mental health professional to work with those kids. And then professional development for the staff. So in June, I think it was 5th and 6th or 4th and 5th, we actually had trainers come out and work with PPS and our counselors on restorative justice practices. And that's going to be something that we're going to infuse into this school year. And then another thing that's out there right now is creating trauma-sensitive classrooms. And really, that's understanding. And when you think of trauma, you don't necessarily think, you don't have to think really violent trauma. It could be trauma, I'm sorry?
Bullying?
It could be bullying. It could be someone, you know, a child experiencing the death of a parent or a grandparent or a sibling. Any form of issue is helping our teachers understand that kids, many of our kids, come to class experiencing some form of trauma. And so what does that look like, and how do we help support those students? So those two things are going to be a big focus this year. Dr. Kendall's even talking about leading a workshop this year with our new teachers, probably our second years on that trauma-sensitive classroom. Parental involvement. We really wanted the buildings to kind of take ownership of this, although we do have a district initiative. So that is their focus at the building level. Some highlights. At Bremen, we had 1,041 individual student-parent contacts through meetings. 101 families attended at least one parental involvement meeting, so that's that parent group that Dr. Feltus runs. At Tinley, 400 students, or about 37% of the school, were represented at 8 family events. That's not saying they went to all 8. One thing, Tinley was actually looking at some data of family engagement. So just a note there, for GPA, this is just of the junior families. The GPA for engaged junior families was 0.19 points higher. So their average was a 2.9 versus those that had disengaged families was only a 2.71. Again, this is very preliminary. That's not to say that families that aren't engaged aren't doing things that necessary for their students. This is just preliminary baseline data. At Hillcrest, 438 students, parents attended at least one event out of the 8 provided. The fall SAT scores of students whose parents attended at least 3 events was 37 points higher than those that didn't have any parent involvement. And 83% of the freshmen, again, of the ones that were there, so 19, whose parents attended at least 3 events were on track to graduate. And very preliminary data, but something we want to continue tracking to see the impact that parent involvement has. We think we know, but to what degree does parental involvement have?
Hey, Corey, I got a question.
Yeah.
There was a program that was implemented, I think a few years ago, and it was a text to the parents. Okay, and I'll give you an example, like John Pfeffer's class over in Tinley, when Mitch was still in there. I would get a text, and I guess it would go out to all the parents in the for that had kids in that particular class, and what it was a reminder with a text to the parent saying, "Hey, Mitch has an exam coming up on Wednesday. It's Monday today. Just letting you know. So that lit a fire under me to go to Mitch. Hey, Mitch, are you studying for that test?
Yeah, what can I help you with?
Yeah. But then, Cord, it kind of fell off.
Sure.
I never was getting texts again, about upcoming important events.
Yeah.
I know that, you probably wouldn't want to do every test, but very important things. Hey, the SAT or ACT testing is coming up. Whatever happened to that? I thought that was just an awesome way of getting to the parent.
No, it's great. It was probably a program called Remind 101.
Okay.
Or there's some version of that. So the problem with those apps is it takes a lot of work on the front end. The teacher actually has to set up their classes to do that. So long story short, we've actually migrated to, and I'm going to forget it's called Swift something. I want to call it Swift Current, but that's a trail in Glacier. Swift something. That actually is in Power School right now. We've already started training the buildings on that. We'll be rolling it out to the teachers at the start of the school year.
Okay.
That it automatically imports the class roster for the teacher. So literally all they have to do is build their message and hit send.
And it'll go out.
It'll go out. So
bring it back.
Yeah, the teacher can translate into Spanish. I'm not sure if it goes beyond Spanish. And we also have it set up at the building level.
Okay.
And it's meant, so when the initial blasts go out, the parents are automatically enrolled, and it's up to you to say, hey, this is too many emails, let's reduce it or take me out. But it's all parents are automatically opted in.
I mean, what an easy way for a parent to be engaged in their kid's education.
Yes.
There's no effort on the parent's part, and you're getting all that valuable information about your child.
Yes.
I loved it.
I think, and this is going to be so much more user-friendly for the teachers.
Good.
To the point where, in a class of 30, I can do a massive text and say, hey, parents, remind your students we have a test tomorrow. Or I can say, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Canning, Mrs. Gleason, I can give you 3 something specific that nobody else needs.
Right.
Or I can
more
just
specific to the. Yeah, that's good.
The 3 of you have met, and obviously you wouldn't see each other's message.
Right.
But maybe the 3 of you missed an assignment. I can just do that all at once.
Oh man.
And hand select specific students. So
I think that's
it's really cool, and it's going to be much better.
good. Good to hear.
And then it will prompt. The other thing that's going to be really nice is every time a parent, every so often, I want to say, I can't remember what Jim said, it's either 30 days or let's just say every 2 months, when you go into Power Teacher Gradebook, it'll ask you, do you want to update your contact information? Because that's the other thing is sometimes our contact information gets obsolete and then the emails don't go anywhere. So it'll prompt you to update your contact information so we have the most current.
And maybe, a peer-teacher conference, hey, is this, the right information? Maybe, I just think that's invaluable. You're getting right in my pocket about my child and his grades, and I loved it.
Yeah.
And Chad, he was the other one that was really good at that, sending them. It was awesome.
Yeah, and many of our teachers were using other apps, but now we have one central one that everyone will be familiar with.
And
Parents
it's
will be
easier
familiar with. It's much easier.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. District parent workshop. So we did try this year a technology workshop as a district. We ended up only having 2 families participate. Part of it was the timing. It didn't happen until second semester. We suggested maybe in the first quarter, especially as new families getting their iPads and not really sure what to do with them. So we talked about moving the technology training to each campus, let each media specialist in the buildings run that tech workshop once a quarter. Lastly, expanding our EL adult program. So right now we have an adult EL program for the district. So any family parents that are English, non-English speakers can come and learn English, learn about the community, learn about the services. We're going to expand that to Bremen because, again, their population is growing significantly to have the program there. In addition to that, Maureen Miller has done a really great job of setting up tutoring services at the Acorn Library for our Arabic families. That was a need that she felt needed to be addressed. So we actually have our Arabic tutors go to the library, and then families can go in where they feel a little bit more comfortable. They can also learn about the services provided by the library and then get tutoring. Not only for the kids at Oak Forest, but siblings can come in and get tutoring.
117, my wife's district, are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And she is with those, in that group with the parents. And it's a team approach, and they're helping them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
It is. Trying to think outside the box.
Yeah.
So in conclusion, for the upcoming school year, we decided again we want to continue focusing on these 3 main goals. Reducing the achievement gap. Once the SAT data comes out, we'll have a better idea of where we're sitting with reducing the achievement gap. I believe, so our schools are going to get labeled in August prior to the start of the school year. We're going to get put into one of 4 tiers. Based upon past achievement, I believe Bremen will probably end up being a level 3, which is targeted, which means they would have access to support from Illinois Empower. The local ISC4 can provide services. I'm believing that Hillcrest will end up as a tier 4, and they'll have comprehensive services. So much like Center for School Improvement came in and was working with us, we're going to be required to have a group come in and work with Hillcrest to improve. Again, that's just my projection. It's based upon student achievement on the SAT and the subgroups. So we're preparing for that. We're going to continue with our social emotional support, again, focusing on that restorative justice and our trauma-centered classrooms, and continue to tackle parental involvement.
I think those are great goals.
Thanks. Okay. In terms of our school-wide plan, so let me give you these. This is just a quick summary of back in 2016, I presented the school-wide plans and the district Title I plan for Bremen and Hillcrest. So let me back up for a second. There are 2 levels of support through Title I, and it's based on the percentage of low-income students in the school. So if a school is less than 40% low income, which Hillcrest was for many years.
38 now? Is that what they are?
Hillcrest is actually 57. I think you're right. I think it's in the 50s. 38 is actually Bremen.
Is that what it was?
Okay. They were above 40 for a little while, and they've dipped down to 38.
Okay.
But a long time ago, Hillcrest did not meet the 40% threshold, and all the title funding went to Hillcrest. So our title grant is usually around $1 million. All $1 million could only go to the percentage of low-income students. That's it. So if you had 100 students, you had to divide $1 million among 100 students. We had a hard time spending the money because it's so restricted in terms of what you can and can't spend the funds on. Okay. That's called targeted assistance. Okay. Once the low-income threshold goes above 40, now you can take that $1 million and spread it amongst all students in the school. So there's much more flexibility with what you can and can't spend the money on. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Probably 5 or 6 years ago, we moved some of the money from Hillcrest over to Bremen because their low-income population was increasing, and we wanted to make sure that they were getting some services. I think it was 2 years ago, they went above 40%, so we actually switched them. We did a comprehensive needs assessment. We switched them to school-wide. Okay, so they've been school-wide since 2016. But now with ESSA, Let me back up. Once a school was school-wide, they were school-wide forever
Really?
under NCLB.
Okay.
Now under ESSA, you have to recertify that it's school-wide. Okay, so that's why we're bringing Bremen back, because they are under 40%.
Okay.
We have to approve their school-wide plan, and then they have to apply for a waiver from the state because they're only 38% low income
Okay.
to become school-wide. Okay, so that's what we're doing. We're going to review their plan. We're going to continue to have them be school-wide because, again, there's more flexibility. The need isn't just for the low-income kids, it's for the whole building. Okay. This school year, Tinley and Oak Forest are going to conduct a needs assessment. Right now they're targeted. They're going to consider moving to school-wide for the 2019-20 school year because Tinley is 27% low income and Oak Forest is 24% low income. But they're having a hard time spending the funds on just the low-income students because there's not a class of just low-income. You can't find an English class that's just low-income students.
Right.
Yeah.
The low-income students are embedded.
So how would you divide those funds up?
As opposed to, let's provide professional development for the teacher that has
Sure.
both students.
Yeah, okay.
Does that make sense? Okay, so that's what we're doing. So again, Bremen's going to apply for the waiver once you guys approve the plans on Tuesday next week. So what I gave you is the original school-wide plan for Bremen and Hillcrest.
Okay.
These were the indicators that they felt they wanted to focus on. Having a leadership team, and many of these things they're doing and are continuing to do, because again, these are best practices. They have a data team that meets on a monthly basis to review all sorts of data, academic and behavioral data, to make sure that it's moving in a positive direction. They did try the common planning period. In some departments, they still have that. Their leadership team also sets the school improvement agendas, again, to making sure that everything's focused on teaching and learning. We're still working on differentiating our instruction at Bremen, especially again because of our EL population. It's huge. Our teachers need to understand strategies that work with those students. Professional development is continuing to be focused on technology. Next year will be the first time that all 4 grade levels will have iPads.
Oh, that's right.
Right?
Man, it's been 40 years.
Yeah.
The time go.
How fast that goes. Remember, we just got computers and now everybody's got iPads.
We were just working on the Wi-Fi in the
Right.
building, and now everybody has them. That's
Yeah.
great. That's
Yeah.
good.
So we have our last set of teachers that have never really used iPads because they've had senior students. So we want to make sure that they're still up,
Yeah.
Sure.
on the current trends in technology. Bremen is still continuing with their collab. So this is a collaboration lab that's for teachers only. So any period teachers can go down to this collab and they can discuss data, teaching strategies, whatever it happens to be. We push in work. We don't. The teachers push in workshops for themselves. So they're going to continue that. They're going to continue all their SIP time. At some point in their SIP time, the staff as a whole are looking at data, and we're going to continue to monitor standards 1 and 7. That's our reading standards to make sure that we're still focusing on those because that's a good chunk of the SAT. Any questions about Bremen? And you'll find that all of their indicators are back aligned to our 3 overarching indicators at the district level. In terms of Hillcrest, putting supports in place by the leadership team to increase student engagement. They're continuing their IPI, which is the Instructional Practice Inventory. That's a team of teachers going and collecting data about student engagement and then reporting that out to the staff and leading staff discussions. They're going to continue to do that. Making sure, going on to indicator 2, that they're clear in their lessons, what objectives the students are trying to meet.
Corey, on number
Interject.
1, just
Yeah.
jumping back up,
Yep.
creation of a team to increase student engagement in the school. So that's not just academic, that's everything.
Yeah, well, that specifically speaks to the IPI team.
Okay.
Yep, and making sure that teachers understand what engagement looks like.
Okay.
And that's what that IPI process is about.
Okay.
Yep. Moving down to indicator IDO2, so that teams have a written purpose. Again, if we're going to create a team to look at something, what's the purpose of that? Like the instructional practice inventory. They actually have a culture committee really trying to work on rebranding Hillcrest. That's the new motto that you hear all year long from the students, and putting up motivational posters in college hallways with pendants and things of that nature. Making sure that departments analyze assessment data. That's going to be a continued focus of ours across the district. Making sure that we're increasing communication with parents, so getting back to that parental involvement, not being reactive, being proactive. Hey, Mr. Johnson, just wanted to let you know that your son is really improving in this class, and trying to head off with positive, so that when you make using your Swift, using your Remind, so that when you do have to make that difficult phone call, you already have the parent on your side, and really trying to push that. And so those are the indicators that Hillcrest are going to continue, again, aligned to our 3 overarching goals. And then lastly, our district indicators, continuing to monitor reading standards 1, 7, and 8. We're continuing to push Decision Ed. We got a little bit behind with it, pushing out the teacher platform that will be ready in August. But our focus this year is going to be in our data retreats. Remember the new school report card that I shared last month? The buildings are going to be reporting out how they're doing on moving that data for the school report card. Okay, and they're going to be using Decision Ed for that. We're going to continue adding to our bilingual program at Bremen as teachers retire, making sure that we have Spanish-speaking teachers in our core areas, which is hard to find, but we're continuing to work on it. We have our Bridges program at Hillcrest. Actually, it's the SOAR program. That's the behavioral support. Our parent organizations, so something that we want to kind of get back to is reaching back to our feeder schools and finding out, what parents' fears are about their students coming to high school, and how can we help better prepare them, and really understanding their perceptions and or misconceptions of our schools. We continue to provide our summer program for our EL students. We're going to continue to push our tutoring services specifically for our SAT prep. We had a lot of success at some of our schools, not only doing SAT prep during lunch, during school or after school, and then in the evening, and trying to provide as many opportunities so students don't have an excuse of why they can't participate. We already have our instructional technology position, just continuing to help Jim with the media specialists, making sure that we're pushing into the classroom and supporting teachers with technology. And we'll continue to do that with our district PD. Questions, comments, reflections?
It sounds good. Yeah. Very impressed.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah.
A lot going on.
A lot of good stuff. Love the parent that you guys are targeting, a parent involvement. I just love that.
We're trying, and buildings are trying different things. Tinley actually, tried some things in-house, and then they said, let's think outside the box, which is our theme, and actually went to McDonald's in Markham and just hung out and told families, hey, just come in, or come to Dunkin' Donuts, let's have some coffee and let's just chat. Again, parents weren't knocking down the door, but they did have some families show up and just talk about whatever they wanted. No agenda, just talk to us about
personally, I never think we'll ever make great progress unless the parents are engaged, unless at least one parent is engaged. They have them how long, and we only have them how long?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if they get serious with their kids' education, we'll skyrocket in our grades.
Yeah, and it's hard. I mean, we also have to be cognizant of the fact that many of our families, one parent home, or parents work in shifts. They're trying to cover, when the students are at home, and so they may not be able to get to parent events.
Right,
so
that's true.
What are some other ways? We talked about changing up our freshman orientation nights and actually having, this is just, kind of an example, instead of the department supervisors bombarding the parents with, here's all the courses you need to know, is videotape a teacher talking about, this is what you're going to learn in Introduction to English, and put the video out there so the parent can watch it at any point in time.
Yeah, they all, even if they work nights, or they all have breaks. They sit down, get their phone out, and look at what their teacher's saying about their child.
Yeah.
That is a great idea.
That's
wonderful.
So we're going to try some new
You
things.
guys are on the right track,
We're trying.
in my opinion.
Thanks.
The older they get, the harder it is, though, to keep the parents engaged.
It is. It is.
All the time.
Yeah. Well, and it also comes to a point too, as the child especially becomes a senior, you know, at some point you gotta let them spread their wings and make mistakes, and you know, you get both ends. You know, trying to prepare them that they're gonna be off on their own in college, and I'm not gonna be there to hold their hand.
Yep.
Right.
Yes, but can we still get you in here to talk about FAFSA or college planning if you
Yeah,
haven't made
true.
a decision, something.
Yep.
So,
Good, Corey.
thanks. Do you have any other, just putting in the back of your mind, Opening Day Institute, we're going to be at Bremen. We do have a keynote address. We actually are going to do two things. Bill is going to give kind of a State of the Union address. This was something that the Staff Development Committee recommended, is kind of reflecting on, we have done a heck of a lot of initiatives over the last 10 years and kind of revisiting those big objectives, but then also talking about what's up and coming with the construction projects and all the different initiatives.
That's cool.
And then we have a keynote speaker. I'm not going to tell you anything about him, but a guy with a really different background coming in and talking about how educators really changed his life and how he wants to really give back to the community, which goes in with our theme. Our theme this year, it's the number 4, and next to it, it's 4 schools for the kids. And it has a little iPad.
Really?
2 of our students from the graphic design class at Bremen created the logo, and we're going to be giving the teachers some gifts on opening day with the logo that the kids created. It's got a little iPad on it. It's really cute.
Really?
But we really want to kind of get, again, going back to our social emotional well-being and really trying to focus on all students, is let's get back to the core of helping all students learn, because, again, we believe all students can learn, and kind of regrouping and revisiting that.
Somebody needs to take care of me. I'm not getting any younger here.
So put that on your agenda. Hopefully you can be there.
Yeah, I apologize. Over the last few years, I just didn't get out of work. I'm
No,
getting out
no.
of work this time.
Good.
Yeah, you gotta take one of those
Yeah.
personal vacation days.
And I'm real stingy with those.
I don't
like
blame-
to-
Yeah.
I don't blame. So I wanted to put that out there that we do have a keynote coming again this
Cool.
year.
Cool.
Last year, the guy was fabulous.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what
I know,
heard.
and we were.
That's the reason why this year I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's tough. Like, how do you follow
Yeah.
that guy? So we were hesitant. We're like, do we bring somebody? Do we not bring somebody? And then we decided. We actually looked at 3 different people, and we ended up going with this
one?
surprise. So,
Oh, cool. Can't wait.
Right?
do you want to call it?
Yep, no announcements. The meeting adjourned at 7:22.